Hello everyone, my name is CarryOn, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. We are back in the world after having put together our Stone Age tech-only house. And I hope you are enjoying how it came out. I am very much liking how it looks. Despite being only Stone Age tech, I think it works out pretty well. Now you may have noticed during the last episode, if you watched it, and I hope you did, that it's gotten a bit colder. In fact, like the plants are getting brown and gray, and they're starting to show some frost on them. And yes, that means it is winter time, or darn near close enough to it. And so today, we're going to take some time to talk about how to prepare for winter, and the things that you generally can and cannot do in winter. First things first, I hope you've been farming as much as I have, or maybe even more. Now, our last crop back here is likely to die, and that is okay. We were just experimenting with a late August, early September planting, and, well, not all experiments are successes. Now, it is better to leave your plants in the ground and let them die rather than trying to harvest them early. For one, they're already cold damaged, so they're going to drop 50% fewer resources than normal. And while some plants will provide partial returns if you harvest them at the second to last stage, well, we're cutting that in half now, so not a great return on investment, is it? The second thing is that breaking a crop before it is fully grown only has a chance to return your seed to you. But if you wait for them to die, just like if an animal eats them, then you will always get the seed back. There is also a very, very small chance that we might still see a tiny bit of growth here and could scrape back a little bit more of our input here. As you can see, it is hovering around 0 degrees Celsius. If it gets up a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 degrees, then our crops could continue growing a little bit. The way that your crops work in relation to temperature is that they grow at full speed at 10 degrees Celsius and above. And then they get progressively slower. You can basically multiply the temperature by 10, and that is the percentage at which your crops will grow at that temperature. So at 5 degrees, 50%, at 2 degrees, 20%, and so on. But hopefully you have a pantry that is at least as stocked as mine is here. Or maybe even, this should actually be okay. I think we're fine for the winter. So if you have maybe even just 3 vessels full of food, maybe one that's got vegetables, one that's got some meat and veggies, and one that has plenty of grain, then you should be good and prepared to survive your first winter. Now, as I noted, it has gotten cold out, and you may have noticed if you open your character screen that right over here there is a body temperature stat right here. And you'll see that we are currently 37.6 degrees Celsius. That's actually 0.2 degrees lower than the standard body temperature of the Seraph. So we're already getting kind of chilly. What happens when you get chilly? Well, you will start seeing a frosty vignette around the edges of your screen. You'll start shivering, and if it goes on long enough and you get cold enough, you'll start taking damage. Now, it is above 0 degrees Celsius, so we shouldn't start experiencing that just yet, but I will show you what it looks like later today. But if you have been following along, you might have remembered that we made some rawhide clothing here. And these are all in good condition. You'll see they have a +1, +2, and +2 degrees Celsius warmth on them. And what that will do is it will make us notably warmer. I'm also reminded that we had a temporal storm right after the end of the last episode. I did get one more temporal gear. So, just should note that. Nothing huge. It was a fairly mundane storm. I'm going to put this away in here for now. These will start, I would say, stacking up, but they don't really stack. They only have a max stack of 1. But we will probably get a lot more of these in the future, which is good because we need them to do some really cool things. Alright, we have our rawhide wrap. Let's put this on. Oh, very snazzy. We have a rawhide mantle. Put that on too. And we have our rawhide trousers. Very cool. It's like I'm wearing human skin. Just like Rimworld. Now, what can we do with our other clothing? Well, for now, we could repair them. They're about the same warmth as our current clothes are. But they are in terrible condition because they've been, we've been running through brambles, we've been attacked by bears, they are in absolute shreds. But we could come in here and we could take some flax twine, or we could even turn this into, how do I do it here? Here we go. A sewing kit, which is actually a class exclusive for the tailor. We could make one of these and we could left click, say, on the pants, and that would repair them to 75% condition. Above 50% condition, your clothing will provide the full warmth bonus, and then it will slowly decline as you get lower and lower and closer down to 0. We don't need the extra clothing right now, and I prefer to have like a tattered summer wear and then just maintain my winter gear, because your clothing will get beat up if you wear it all year round. And so I'm going to put these away in here. I won't repair them any farther, and that will be that. We've also been making some pelts, and I have them over here. Now, pelts are another resource for making clothing, including very snazzy hats. Ooh, that's right. We have fox and raccoon pelts, too. I almost forgot about those. And with these pelts, we can make additional clothing to keep our little seraph bodies even warmer throughout the winter. Let's see what we can make. So we can make, using a medium pelt, we can make knee-high fur boots. Will give us +2. There are some fur gloves. Will give us +1.5. There's a fur coat for +3 degrees Celsius. And here we go. There is a fur wrap. This would actually replace our rawhide wrap. So maybe we'll make that, or maybe we'll wait for this to get a little beat up before we replace it. But we have these 4 options ahead of us right now. There are some other clothes we can make. However, a lot of them require things like dyed cloth, lots of bear pelts, or other pelts, things that we just don't have access to right now. There is also, if we hover over the fox or raccoon pelt, we can also make a red foxtail hat or a raccoon hat, with or without tail, I suppose. So we can make it without a tail if we use this recipe, or with a tail if we use this one. So I think it's time for us to get into some winter fashion. Let's grab some of these here, since this does require a bit of twine. I think I want to start by making one of each of the raccoon and fox hats, just because they're kind of cool. Now, this may wear down your knife. That's okay. Some recipes use more than one durability. This looks like it just uses 1. That's fine. Like one of each of these. There we go. And then I want to make some fur gloves. So we need 2 small pelts, left and right, and knife in the center. There we go. Next, I want to make some boots. Where are those boots? Here they are. So this requires either 4 small pelts or 2 medium pelts or 1 large pelt. Let's do the 4 small pelts. It's pretty easy. We got boots now. And then we also have the coat here. Where's the fur coat? There you are. So this wants either a lot of small pelts, a bunch of medium pelts, 1 huge pelt, or 3 larges, although we only have 2, so this one's kind of right out. It does look like this is a relatively formless craft, though. If we want to use the small pelts, we could just line them all up here. And I think I might just do that. We'll use the rest of our fox pelts and our raccoon pelt, and then 4 of these small pelts here, and we'll make a fur coat. And since we have them, maybe I will go ahead and make a fur wrap as well. So there we go. We now have lots of new kinds of clothing to try out here, and we'll do it up here where there's some better lighting as well. So we have the boots. Here we go. We have the fur wrap. I think I like a bit more than the rawhide wrap. We have some gloves. We have the coat. And we have the hat. Oh, snazzy. That is a very bright hat. Which one do I like more? The fox hat certainly stands out. But I think because it stands out, it's a little too much. So I'm going to wear the raccoon hat, I think. That does mean we have a hat for next year, which is just fine. Put some of this away. I'm going to put away the clothing and the hides. And then I'll get on to the last thing we can do, or the last few things we can do, to stay warm in winter. And if you see what's under my arm, then yes, that's right. The bear armor actually provides a bit of warmth. It's only 1 degree per piece, but since it uses the armor slots, it will stack with all of your clothes. And now you can't even see the raccoon hat, so I guess I could have kept the fox hat either way. Now, our bear armor is in rough shape, and as we noted last episode, it is very expensive to repair, with it requiring a bear pelt, and you only repairing a tiny portion of its overall durability with that. I have not made any changes to that yet, though I still might. So we're not going to worry about the bear armor, we're going to just leave it off for now, but I wanted to show you that we have the option. So with all these combined here, we now have a buffer against temperature of 16 degrees after I add all these up. What that means is that we will now not start getting cold for purposes of the ice vignette and for shivering and for damage until about negative 16 degrees Celsius. However, I do not believe it affects your hunger rate. And the only reason that we are at our default hunger rate is that right now it is above freezing. But we'll come back at night and we'll see, once the temperature drops below 0, what it does to our hunger rate. So even though we have all of this nice warm clothing, we're still kind of chilly, I guess, and that means it does not affect our hunger rate. Big sag. So, now that I am no longer in my bear skin, let's talk about the other ways you can use to stay warm in winter. If you are already cold, the best thing you can do is come inside, throw some fuel on a fire pit, give it a light, and wait. The fire will heat up the area around it in a few blocks or so, and your temperature here will start to recover pretty quickly at first, and then it should slow down as you get near the maximum. Now, we of course were not already cold or anything, so this won't actually help us right now. But the other thing you can do to stay warm in winter and to also, more specifically, avoid using a lot of food is you can heal up your house to create what's called a room. Now, the problem with these doors here and all of the portals that we have as options in the Stone Age is that none of them actually close off the room. We can see right through them. These don't provide any shelter against the elements, only creatures. So in the Stone Age, unless you have been visiting your local furniture trader and have been buying their very fancy doors, which is an option, you'll need to block off your entrances with solid blocks. We can block that off. We can probably take this guy out here and block him off, and then we can also block this off here. And in a moment, this should update and say, here we go. We have the house symbol. We are now considered to be in a room because it is sealed off from the weather and the elements. What happens in a room is that your body temperature will always stabilize, and it should go back up to the maximum, although it's a bit slower than standing by a fire. More importantly, your hunger rate will drop back to whatever it is for your class and the other things you're doing. If you're wearing armor, it'll be a little bit higher. If you're holding something in your offhand, it'll also be a little bit higher by 20%. And if you're a blackguard, well, you have a 30% hunger debuff anyway. Now, I find this to be a bit of a silly option, since it requires you to break blocks every time you want to enter or leave your home, but it will help you conserve a lot of food in the winter if your pantry is getting low on food. I'll probably leave these off unless I'm planning on staying in the house and doing one activity for a while, such as maybe clay forming, but for now we will just leave these off. Also, so that we can watch as the temperature drops, we can see our own hunger here already going up. We're at 132 now. Something else to keep in mind is that since you are going to need to ration your food to make it until spring, you don't want to eat your food irresponsibly. That means no midnight snacking. What I mean by that is, don't come down here and just eat raw handfuls of food, because you're basically losing out on a lot of satiation, as well as the hidden satiation that keeps your hunger bar full after you've eaten a larger meal. The same goes for eating if you are full. Don't let me catch you eating your grain or your vegetables or your meat while you have a full hunger bar. It's a waste of food. Don't do it. And I am coming out here at night just to take a peek. Yeah, we have a few mature flax here. We're losing out on a bit of the produce, but that is just the shakes. Your water blocks also will freeze over in winter, so you may need to break them if you have crops that are still growing around them. This rye is toast, though, that's for sure. But a little bit more flax for the old basket never hurt anybody. And you know what? I am not hearing the squealing of piglets anymore, which means... Oh, this must mean something special has happened. Yes, our Generation 1 pigs have gotten angry at me for disturbing their rest here. They've grown up, which means it's curtains for you two, my dears. Their weight is both good. That is excellent. You always want to make sure you are gently harvesting your animals when their weight is good, which you can do by giving them some food. Which again, if you are close to starving, it may not be what you want to do in winter. So make sure you have enough food to do that. Now I'm going to go ahead and slaughter these pigs because their body weight is good, and because I want to start getting into the kinds of things you can do to pass the time in winter. One of which is ranching. So if you have some animals that need a good old gentle poke with a spear, it's a great time to do that. It's even better to do it when the animals can't actually reach you. That took entirely too long. Yes, we have weight good and weight good. That is perfect. When their weight is good, it means they will have a chance of dropping their full amount of meat and hides and fat. And there we go. So we got 2 fat from the boar. All right, we got 8 meat and 2 fat from both of them. And then, of course, we have the hides and some bones. That means it is time for me to start feeding these two so that they can start breeding and have their own set of piglets. Aha! And now that I can see it is negative 4.6 degrees Celsius, let's take a look at our character screen. Yes, so you'll see that your hunger rate is not affected by the amount of thermal insulation you have on. So even though we should be nice and toasty, we can be warmed down to negative 16 degrees Celsius, it still makes us hungrier. Now tomorrow, I want to go on a bit of a trip. And for that, we're going to need to bring a few things with us. I'm going to grab a little bit of meat here, and a little bit of fennel, because I want to go on a fishing trip. There is a larger lake over here than there is down here, and I thought it might be a good idea to go over here and try fishing in these lakes to see what could be caught. But since we're going fishing, we need some bait, and I don't really want to spend 6 hours trying to grunt worms out of dirt anymore. And I also learned after the last time we went fishing, which was a long time ago, that you can make stink bait using meat and fennel and I believe a bit of water. Let's grab a bowl here. I think it requires 1 liter of water per 2 of these. There we go. The earthy orange ceramic cooking pot is too small to make 8 red meat stink bait. Can I make 1? This will create 4 red meat stink bait. There we go. Now I suspect we can probably actually make all of this at once. Let's find out. Yep, there it goes. I think CarryOn has not yet implemented the size restrictions on processing things like fat and stink bait in the cooking pot yet. So at least for now, maybe not in the future, if you're in version 1.23 or even 1.22.4 or later when you watch and try this may have changed by then. But right now, you can process a good amount of stink bait in your cooking pot. Now, yes, we are using red meat. I could have used bush meat, but I don't have any. But this will still actually multiply, hopefully, the amount of protein we stand to get from our food. So we now have 8 stink bait. And apparently this also destroys your cooking pot. I did not know that. Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to put this over here with the other dirty pots. And I will make sure not to make stink bait in that pot again. Kind of weird that stink bait destroys your pot, given that I cook meat and fennel in the pot as well. It's kind of strange, but okay. Don't mind me, just going to make up some more cooking pots, I guess. Alright, we have our stink bait, which I'm not keeping on me because it only lasts for about a day if you carry it on your person. I have put it into this here, where with the given temperature right now, it'll last about 9 days. But if we're going to be out on the water fishing, I want to actually be on the water, not in it. So we're going to make ourselves a raft and an oar. To make both of these, you're going to need 14 logs of any type, and then 5 coils of rope. You'll make the raft by putting the logs in sets of 2 down the sides here, and then 1 rope down the center, for a total of 3 rope and 12 logs. We'll make a pine raft, and then to make the oar, you need to actually steer the raft and actually propel it. You need 2 logs on the side and then 2 rope in the center like this. All right, we have our raft, we have our oar. All that's left is to wait for morning and we can head out to go fishing. And I had to figure out where I put my fishing rod. All right, folks, here we're getting down to the lake that I wanted to fish in. And I believe the fish should stick around through the winter. I don't believe they actually go away. But we're going to find out. Now I want to fish from the middle of the lake, so I'm going to get my raft out here and my oar. I'm going to right click with the raft. I'm going to sit in it, and then with the oar in my main hand, I'm going to hold forward to come out here on the lake. We'll see if there are any fish around. I'm not seeing any. I don't know if that's because it's winter or because it's a different lake and not every body of water has the same chance of having fish. But since we're here, we can take our stink bait, put it on our fishing pole, and we can cast a line. And we got an adult rainbow trout. Not too shabby. Let's try again. A second one, not too bad. Our third one, my goodness. This lake seems to be full of rainbow trout. I'm going to maybe go up into here and see if we can find some other kinds of fish. I'd like to get some of the larger fish if they're still around in winter. Fishing from the water is also a great way to be able to just stay away from most other wildlife. I'm thinking specifically bears and wolves, and boar too, I suppose. And I guess let's stop right about here, sure. And let's cast our line again. Speaking of bears, I see one rampaging right over there. It's behind that tree. Ah, there he is. He got something. This time we got a baby smallmouth bass. I'm going to put that back on the rod and see if we can catch anything a bit more impressive over here.
1 hour later.
Well, I sat there for a solid minute and got nothing, so we're going to head over this way a little bit and we'll cast our line again. Well, been sitting here another minute or so. I think it's safe to say that the fish are either not populated or as populous in this particular lake, or in winter it might be that the bigger fish either die or go into hibernation somewhere deeper in the waters. Let's go try our original lake, although I'm a little afraid to fish there just in case we accidentally overfish it. But we'll see what else we can catch there. And if we get a lot fewer bites, then I think that will tell us that certainly in winter you'll have fewer fish biting your hook. You'll also see, as it gets colder, that the ice will start forming, starting from the outer edges of the lakes and other bodies of water. It always tries to start closer to land and then work its way outward from there. So it's safe enough to paddle around here, but if you wait too long, you can end up, kind of stuck, although you can always just get out of your raft. Speaking of getting out of your raft, you want to do that close to land, and the game will try to put you on land if you're close enough. You do that by pressing your crouch button, and there we go. We are on land. To pick up your raft, make sure you have an empty hand, crouch, and right click, and you'll get your raft back. I'm going to take a peek for that bear. Okay, not here. And I'll see you over at our previous fishing lake. Alright, here we are. I think we splashing in water. We are not wet, so that's okay. I think I'm going to, for science, try to set up shop here in about the same place as last time. Now, I am seeing the larger fish here, so I'm thinking that that just means that that other lake just doesn't have as many fish. Now that dead smallmouth bass is still on the pole here. Let's go ahead and cast it. See if we can get that big old green guy right there. Although I don't know if the actual spawned fish ever actually go for your rod or not. Well, the fish are not biting on this smallmouth bass here. Let's reel it in and let's try to put some stink bait on it instead. See if that gets us a few more bites. To get that time we got an adult moonfish. Okay. Let's cast again. And I'm going to keep fishing until we run out of bait. I might still try to use that juvenile fish for bait, as it is not the most worthwhile fish to keep for cooking, but I'll see you all when this is over. Okay, I've been here for a solid in-game hour with the little fish on our hook. I think we're going to just keep it, and we're going to cross the pond here. Normally I would swim, but because it is cold, we should take the raft. I'm not going to, so we can show you what happens when you get cold during winter. So off comes all of our clothing. We're going to go skinny dipping. And we have our emblem still stapled to our chest. In we go. Yeah, there are fish here. What's the game trying to say? Maybe the bigger fish don't like to come out during winter. Who knows? You'll see that we are now soaking wet here. And it is only 3.5 degrees Celsius. That will drop as night goes on. But this should give us a chance to see what happens when we are wet in winter and why you want to avoid it. Okay, we are home, still somewhat naked, and I have filleted that fish, and we got 14 raw fish. Now this doesn't keep very long in our inventory, so I'm going to go ahead and put it away right now. But we just took 2 red meat and 2 fennel, and we got basically the equivalent of about 14 pieces of poultry. Because when we cook this into a meal, this gets much more filling than it is now. So, to demonstrate how getting cold looks and how it feels and what it does to your screen, I'm going to stand out here on the patio in my skivvies and with my emblem stapled to my chest, just like usual. And I'll bring you all back when I have something to report. Good morning, everyone. I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is I haven't frozen to death. The bad news is, oddly, I haven't frozen to death. I could not get my temperature to drop more than a couple tenths of a percent overnight. I even went and kept taking dips in our sink downstairs to try to get myself soaking wet again, and nope, couldn't do it, despite it being -8 degrees last night. So I'm not sure what's going on. I feel like I should already be frigid given that it is sub-zero temperatures and I am naked. This doesn't quite feel right. And I don't think I changed any of the settings regarding body temperature over in the world settings, so I'm not sure what's up. Just imagine a nice white tint and sort of crystalline snowflakey look to the edges of my screen. And yeah, oh, and some of this too, a little shaking here and there. There we go. Perfect emulation. Way to go, me. High five. When you high five yourself, that's called a clap. Just as I threatened, we are going to harvest these bees one last time. Oh my goodness, I can't believe they still have honey in them. And the reason is that if you let the temperature get to -10, the bees' progress will fully reset. There'll still be a populated skep, but they won't have any honey in them because it's winter and the bees are, eating their honey over winter. And of course, something else you can do in winter if you have the time for it, and you have the materials, is if you haven't processed any of your honeycomb yet, or your hides into pelts, then now is a great time to do so. This is a good chance to catch up on any processing that you kind of left off for later and get it done, so it's not waiting for you in spring. And that brings me to kind of the last thing that I would say is a good idea to occupy your time through winter, barring one thing that I want to touch on next episode. And that is, I think it's time to decorate our house. We built ourselves a wonderful house, but it feels like we're a little house poor. We have so much room over there and up here in our second floor, and also our yard is rather unfinished. So I want to get to decorating, and we're going to talk about what kind of options there are in the Stone Age. What are the best ways to go about doing that? Well, for one, we could come into this room and decide that it is time to maybe put up some kind of table here again. Now, we did have a stone table before, but I think a wooden one's going to look better in here. Maybe not quite at that angle. And then you can always display your knickknacks. We have some books lurking in, here we go, one of these guys here. So one there, maybe out in the middle, one there, and there, and there, and there. Perfect. We can display our books now. And maybe we decide that over here we could break up some of this by putting some kind of bench or maybe a table over here. So I might come over here and find that I could maybe make some stairs right here. Grab one of these guys and make a pair of stairs like this. And then we can make a little, like a workbench or some kind of maybe really tall bench for sitting on. But I think we could maybe decorate by putting things on this. In fact, maybe we could put out one of our emeralds there. Maybe, I don't know, one of these rusty gears. And maybe a copper arrowhead. Just to kind of show off some of our swag here. And maybe pop that guy, maybe not quite there. Oh, I guess we can't store these together anymore. Oh, there we go. We have to just start with something that actually starts a quad ground storage, then we can. You pop this guy there. Not too shabby. We could also, as I have threatened to before, open up here, we can actually remove these threshold blocks and replace them with nicer ones. These are the aged, polished Peridot white that we got a long time ago. Well, not that long. A long time ago in-game, not that long episode-wise. And just replace these sort of single block exterior, outdoors leading blocks, just to signify this is, hey, this is the start of the house. And then on our second floor here, maybe it's time we bring in another bed. Yeah, I'm thinking it's time for our second bed, just in case we have any guests, and maybe we could even just move this guy. There we go. Now we no longer have a bed on the first floor. This feels much more like an actual first floor with maybe a little too much storage shown here. You can also decorate in here a bit just by throwing some of this stuff around. And if you didn't know already, you can place these at different angles. They don't have to always be facing straight towards you. So kind of randomizing them can really go a long way to making some places feel a little bit less perfectly organized, a little more chaotic. Here we go. Maybe this one's like a full 45-degree angle. Here we go. This one is too. That's okay. If we had more bear pelts, we could set some out here and decorate the floor that way. Or we could come down here and maybe take some of these pelts here. We'll put them on our bedroom floors just to make things a bit cozier. There's that. And we'll put one maybe here. Yeah, there we go. That way when we get out of bed in the morning, we don't freeze our little toesies on the ground. Now these are a little smaller. I might just leave these alone. I don't know. Yeah, it should do, I think. Oh, and the black bear head pelt. We can put this somewhere. Like, ooh, maybe... We already have a black bear pelt on the floor below, but what about right there? Staring at us with a sort of orange glow in the eyes. But one of my favorite ways to bring some color into a build that's not otherwise available as a building block is clay forming. Specifically, clay forming to make things like, if I can find them, here we go, planters and flower pots. And with these, we can take whatever kinds of flowers that we have, and then some other odds and ends as well, and we can use them to decorate and take advantage of their colors that are much brighter than anything you'll find as a building material in the game. Except maybe for bauxite. That's pretty bright. There we go. And now, we wait. Is what I would say if I hadn't sneakily, quite a long time ago actually, spent some time putting together some planters and some flower pots for today's episode. I also, somewhat sneakily, have been collecting flowers here and there to use for this demonstration, along with some ferns. Let's grab a few different kinds of flowers here. So, flower pots and planters. Planters are, of course, larger planters, like that, and just like everything else that's placeable, it can be placed at angles, although I usually like to have it straight on, but it does depend on the build. And so we could maybe flank this staircase here and put like some woad in there. Look how bright that is. And maybe some lupins. Or maybe we decide we don't want lupins, we can break this again. We get back both of them. Pop this guy back down, and let's do maybe, I don't know, how about some wild daisies instead? There we go. A nice bright splash of color. Now, flower pots are the smaller cousins of planters, and although they look like they could fit, they can't actually be placed in quadrants of a block. They can only be placed centrally, which is fine. Put one there, and maybe we'll put, I don't know, how about some catmint up there? Very nice. Very nice. I like it. We can maybe put one down here as well at an angle, and we could put a lupin in it after all. When you put a lupin in a pot, you only get one. In a planter, you do get 4, but I find them to be a little funky in the planters. They look a little too regular for me. And then maybe we want to have some up here, such as right along this wall. This wall is kind of boring right now. Let's get a planter out here and put one there. Maybe we'll put another flower pot up there, and maybe one last planter right here in the corner. And we could put in this planter a fern. Now, unlike flowers, ferns will take on the colors of the current season, so that's why this is red right now. If this were spring or summer, this would be nice and green. But this way we have a little bit of seasonal color inside our home. Then maybe we could put some heather in there, and maybe these cow parsley in the flower pot. And there we have a little bit of decoration going on. Like maybe another little bench right here. Let's go get some stairs and some slabs for that. Here we go. We can put another little table up here. Maybe I'll make this just a 2-block wide little table instead of 3. And then maybe this corner here in the light we'll have a book. Oh, and apparently we've discovered lore from that. Okay. Very strange. And then maybe over here, maybe this book is about how to make some metal chain. I have friends who do this in real life. And so maybe this is what we're learning here. We're learning how to make some copper chains. This might also be an opportune time to come in here with some more logs and run a beam across the top here, and maybe one in the center to show that the roof is being supported. I think we have just enough oak for that. I think we're going to need one more to finish that up. Well, I guess that's just how it has to be sometimes. Not to worry, I have been farming oak trees since earlier on in the season. I know a few of them have grown, so we'll go take advantage of that once it gets a little brighter out and some of the bad guys go away, like him. Winter is also a great time to decorate the outside of your house in preparation for sunnier weather. For instance, I would actually like to put up some fences here along the edges of my home. But on the corners here, I want to actually plant some pine trees so that they'll grow and hopefully give us some shade in the hotter parts of the summer. And I'm just going to plop down some fences along here, as well as up here. We have, let's see, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoopsie, like so. And then maybe we can go back in and get some planters to put on those corners there. So 1 there, and 1 there. And we'll do some, I don't know, cow parsley and some catmint. There we go. We're missing a bit of safety rail on the front. It's because we're out of pine. But luckily, I happen to know where there's a lot of pine forest in basically every direction. So I'm going to go and do another thing you can do in winter, which is go and gather wood and other building resources. Now, granted, the ground is at this point rather covered in snow, making it difficult to see what kind of stone you're walking on, and the trees are about all the same color at this point. But as long as you know where to look, maybe you have a pine forest or an oak forest that you know where you want to get your wood from, then you can go and grab those resources there. I'm going to go and pick up a lot of wood and bring it back, and I'll see you all when I am ready to continue working on the house. Alright, coming back from getting us some more pine, I did check our 1 resin tree we have nearby, and I found a second one right down here. So I want to check out the rest of these for resin at some point, because there might be more here. And you should know that, since I haven't mentioned it yet in this season, resin on trees does respawn every 8 days, which is why you don't want to cut down the trees. You'll also note that I wasn't running very fast out there, was I? And that's because in the winter, once you get deep snow on the ground, which is like this, then your walking and running speed is actually reduced by a little bit. So let's get on up here, and even though we have a rift here humming at us, let's go ahead and we're going to plop down the rest of this fence to keep things safe up here so we don't fall off by accident. I think we're going to want a light out here as well. Just going to clear the snow. Which reminds me, if you crouch and right click and you don't have a CarryOn setting you set to crouch and right click, you can pick up snowballs from the ground, which is a way of clearing them, but also you get snowballs. They deal a tiny, 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 tiny bit of damage, but you can throw them. Hit these drifters. Got him. Got him. Look at that. That's right. Have a taste of my snow. Feel my wrath. But let's see, I'm thinking like maybe up here on the patio, let's do like a seat and a seat with a low table between them. And then we'll put our light right there. And then we have a little bit of space out here for, I don't know, something else later. Maybe more tables later with some flower pots on them. Maybe this could be like our little potting station. Maybe this is where we actually spend time making our pots and planting them. I'll just plop this down, say there, and we'll make a little workbench here and here. And maybe we have the planter like that because we're working on it. And then these guys right there. And there we go. A little potting station. Maybe with a little piece of like dirt block next to it for the dirt that we use to put into the planter and pots. Now there are 2 more particular decorations I want to do, but one of them requires oak wood, which I am now out of, and another requires some kind of stone. I'm leaning toward chert or limestone, mostly because they are plentiful and nearby. So I'll see you all either tomorrow or the next day when I have what we need. Oh, this is pretty spooky. as I was on the way home, I did spy these pine saplings. Now, these are going to mature in, quote, 3 days. Well, that 3 days only starts ticking once it is warm again. I'm going to pick this guy up. I'm going to plant a seed. I might grab a couple more of these and replant them. And this is one of the other things that I mentioned you can plant in planters and in pots. You do have to plant the seeds and let them grow into saplings. And then as long as you harvest them while they are still saplings, you can then plant them in a planter or pot. You can also just plant them in the ground again, and they will resume, or they will restart their growth cycle, 17 days here. But indoors, or rather in a planter or a pot, they will basically last forever and do not need any attention. So maybe we could put a small tree, oh, I don't know. Maybe one over here. We'll put a little pot here, put a tree in the pot. There we go. Very small and cute. And then somewhere down here, or maybe outside even. What about like right up here? What if we put it right here? Put a little bonsai right there. That's pretty cute. Now on to one of the two last things I wanted to do here today is we do need to tear this down a little bit, but we also need to put a roof on it because this is getting kind of annoying to deal with. Grab you and you. So I want to put a roof on this so that we don't have to keep, one, putting an ugly roof on, and two, so we never have to worry about snow ever again, or rain. Now, if you recall, you do not want to have any flammable blocks within 2 blocks of a pit kiln. Now, that is taxicab geometry. What that means is that this block is not safe, and this block is not safe, and this one, of course, these are only 1 away. But this is actually technically 2, because you count from here, and you go 1, 2. So that's why this block is not safe. However, this block is perfectly safe. And so is this one, although folks can get a bit squirrely about putting blocks there. But this one, being directly 1, 2 blocks away, is not safe. So while I was out, I went and I got some chert stones here. And we're going to turn these into dry stone fences by putting them in a 2x3 arrangement here across the bottom of your crafting grid. The crafting recipe is not terribly generous. You only get 1 fence per 6 stones, but they are just stones, so they're pretty darn cheap. And what I want to do is I want to make little corners here like this. So there, and we'll do one here. Maybe, do I want to bring this in like that? I think I do. Yeah, sure, why not? And then I'm going to bring this up 3 blocks. Because fires from pit kilns can spread 3 blocks vertically, unlike horizontally. But if we're starting on the 4th block, then we should be perfectly safe in putting a flammable roof on. That's right, I'm busting out the thatch, my pretty much least favorite kind of roof, but it's there. I think it'll make a decent little contrast to what we have going on here. You know what, that feels a little tall. Maybe we do want to bring this down. I don't know for certain that this won't just catch fire, but I guess we'll give it a whirl. And we will raise this roof up here to hopefully keep this more than 3 blocks away from the pit kiln. And I think I might give it a test here just to make sure we're not going to burn our house down. Alright, and there is our little clay firing hut. With a little bit of support here with some wattle to make it look like we have some kind of support for the ceiling. And we have 1, 2, 3, and we have a 4th block is where our first flammable blocks are. So let's give this a whirl. I'll start at this end, so if we have a catastrophic fire event, then I can put it out before it gets too far. We'll lit it up and watch it burn. And we're going to watch for any of these catching fire here. Yeah, you know, I think we're okay. I think if it was going to catch fire, it would have done so already. It's been about a minute of real life. I think this is just fine. Now, as for the last decoration I wanted to do today, I believe I told you I had plans for something under here. And today we're going to start putting that into motion here. And that's going to require a whole bunch of oak wood here. I hope we have enough. I did find a really big oak tree, and we got a good amount of oak off of it. Let's just hope it is enough. It's going to start up here though. What I want to do is I want to build a giant oak tree right here. Now in Vintage Story you can't actually collect the leaves or the branchy leaves from trees without a mod. So we can't really build the tree you would in the same way as the other block game. But what we can do is we can build a tree such as like so. So we'll do maybe something like this and maybe one more. And then we'll put some dirt here. And then I'm going to plant 4 oak saplings. And then I'm going to actually build up a dirt pillar, maybe 10 blocks high. And this is going to hurt coming down, but oh well. Ow! My knees. And what I'm doing here is, I've put these here, these will all grow. And unlike in the other block game, if a portion of the tree fails to grow, it simply doesn't grow that portion of the tree. So this should grow straight up, and even if it's one of the larger oaks with a lot of branches here, then this pillar here won't stop the tree, but it will stop the branches. And once the trees have grown, they don't care about what's underneath them, so we can replace this dirt block with some more wood. Speaking of which, we can also branch off of here and maybe make some roots here. A little bit of this and some of that. There we go. It's a pretty rooty old oak tree. And then down under here, we can continue this tree under here. My goal is that this central pillar here, once we remove it, should create a pillar of light. Whoops. That reaches down here into our little basement area. This is the place that I want to eventually build our first forge. And I think it would be really cool to have it nestled among the roots of a tree with candlelight glowing from it. So, in preparation for getting to the Copper Age and making all kinds of metal items, we're going to build out this little tree here. Maybe like one root like that. And then maybe have this one come down here. I have a little bit more to go. There we go. And now we can pick up these candles and we can put them actually on the log. There we go. And what an ambiance that makes. I think this will be a neat place to start our forging career here as smiths. Someday we'll be master smiths. Right now we are just Bunga Bunga caveman. Alright people, good morning. Our fire in the kiln here is still burning without burning down the rest of the structure, so I think we are okay here. And we have our ugly dirt pillar here that's going to stay ugly until spring. Now we'll take a look down here. Did have to add some lights because I had a bowthorn spawn, I think right in this corner here, since we moved the candles over to here. I think this is a bit dimmer, so I might shuffle some of these around or add some candles maybe up here, or put a little table over here with some candles, and just generally light this place up a little bit better. Now, before we end here, I want to do something a bit different, and I want to go into creative mode in a backup of this world, and I am going to fast forward time to show you what the end result of this tree should be. Bear in mind that the tree's final size is determined at the moment they grow, not right now. So when they finally grow in spring, they might end up looking a bit different. One might be taller than the others, and they might be bushier or less bushy. But to give you a general idea of what this place is going to look like in spring, I wanted to go ahead and do that. Let's take a peek, shall we? First, a lesson in backups. If you're going to back up your world, I recommend you do a /auto save now. And then you can do a /gen backup. This is assuming I can spell it right. And once it says backup complete, you're done. You're safe. You should do this every so often. Maybe not every time you play, but maybe if you play several times a week, maybe do it once a week. If you only play a couple times a month, maybe do it once a month. But you do want to back up your world in case something goes wrong, especially because there are game-breaking bugs that can corrupt your database, your world database, and sometimes updates will cause issues until they are ironed out by the developers. But that can also wreck a world too. Back up early, back up often. And there you have it, folks. This is kind of the final form of our house as it will look in about summer of next year. Now, this oak tree, or these 4 oak trees, did kind of grow up to be a little bit short on the bushy side. That's okay, though. I may or may not decide to chop them down and replace them. But when it's all said and done, we'll have this dirt column we can remove here. And then our forage area, our future forage area down here, will have a clear view of the sky straight overhead. But back in the present, we are still going to have some snow to deal with, and for quite some time apparently. I suspect we will still have snow deep into March, maybe into early to mid-April. And that isn't unusual for a temperate starting area in Vintage Story. Temperate starting area is kind of less Germany, more Scandinavia. So if you are unprepared for a long winter, good luck. But folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the Vintage Story Guide. I hope you enjoyed the foray into how to prepare for winter, how to stay warm, how to preserve your food and make sure you don't eat it all at once, and some things that you can do to keep busy during winter. In the next episode, I want to explore one last kind of large thing that we can do during winter, and that is I want to go and do a little bit of dangerous cave spelunking. I don't want to go too deep, maybe just scratching the surface, but I want to show you that even in the Stone Age, there are things you can do underground, and there are treasures to find, even in some of the shallower places of the world. But I think I have a hunch that a lot of you are ready for me to leave the Stone Age behind and finally, at long last, enter the Copper Age. Well, you know what? I'm ready for that too. So after that episode, we will, at long last, be working on getting into the Copper Age and getting our first metal tools going on. But that is for another time. The names scrolling by belong to the fine folks who are supporting the channel by signing on as channel members. If you too would like to see your name in the credits, get access to videos before anybody else, and maybe even hear me butcher your name in the next part, then go to the channel memberships and check out what's on tap. The following folks enjoy name butchery, and they have supported the channel by joining at the Seraph tier. Their names are Elizabeth Woolley, Inger Raymond, Joshua Saruda, Linda Harris, Lucky's Mom, Mad Lord Hubris, Oak Tree, Servus, Snow Silver, Sue Wallace, Tyluna, and Wade Parker. As always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.